Follow the moon. I'll follow the moon, not sun. I'll follow the sun. If you remember that classic song, I need to check to make sure that is in my collection. Most likely. I'll follow the sun. One day you'll find. Da 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 da. For tomorrow may come, rainbow, I'll follow the sun. So, Travis Wingoodsell, if I forgot to say it at the beginning. Yeah, I was following the moon on my morning run. Run. Associative memory mixed with my mind racing ahead. So, yeah, today is Lunar Eclipse Eve Day. And the reason why it's significant is because this is a historic event. It's rare. And that is what has helped me in my scientific testing for the theory that I have been working with for the latter days. Because if you remember the video I did about the patterns of lunar eclipses and deaths of Mormon prophets, you'll understand why. Because I'm continuing to see if the pattern still is in effect, or if this is going to just come and go, as we have had a couple of other lunar eclipses with no deaths of prophets since Monson. And the latest one was back in May. And I still remember that one. I'm doing the video for it for you. And as nothing happened, came and went, no dead prophets. Sounds like a band name. No dead prophets. Something a Mormon would call his band name. I am a child of God, so there will be no dead prophets. That's my idea. You are stealing my idea. And so it became an anomaly rather than fitting a pattern. And so I then had to go back and reevaluate that lunar eclipse. Because I can't keep believing that it was a fulfillment of a dead prophet, because there were none. So it's now an anomaly. The light did not come on. I have to try again to invent the light bulb. But the previous ones, confirmed, established as fact. They happened, there's a pattern, fact. The evidence has established fact. Now, explaining how and why, it's just a fact. And so, again, yes, I was testing to see if it was going to hold, and nothing happened. And then, a few days later, or a couple of days later, or a day later, you'll see the video where I found in my review and going back over the research that there's another one coming tomorrow. You'll turn blood tomorrow. It's only less than a day away. I'm here all week. And so recognizing that there is two, I then looked into it and went back over the previous factual data and recognized that, oh, okay, this is an incorporation of a couple of different previous patterns. If something happens, you know, like death of a prophet. And so again, that's the theory that I am working with, and I can't really do much of a test. It's just a matter of waiting until the deadline comes and goes. And so we'll have to see. It could happen today. You know, the prophets meet at 10 a.m. at the administration building because the Salt Lake Temple is under renovation for the New World Order of the Church in 2024's April General Conference. And so, you know, maybe Oaks and Nelson might get into a fight over how the church should be led, because Oaks is younger, is most likely to succeed upon Nelson's death, which could be at any time now. I mean, dear God, 97? Why aren't you dead? You know, angry words could even set off a heart attack. Right, Holland? Or pointing out an inverted pentagram as the keystone on the Salt Lake Temple. As your defense counsel is reporting it to you that Monday morning. And so you seek revenge and send me a death threat last Sunday? Good times. But I had a brand new visitor to my channels. He was referred by YouTube to my #1 video of all existence. The LDS dates for the return to Independence, Missouri, I think is the title. It's getting very close to 39,000. And he showed up and made a comment. You know, this was back in 2017, but he didn't seem to be mean. He was just saying, so what happened? He isn't able to make the connection with what's been happening over the past 4 years with what I was warning in the video, as he was more focused on returning to Missouri rather than the symbolism of the total solar eclipse that was going to come out the very next month. And so I replied and welcomed him to his first video of mine and informed him that he has 4 more years of videos to get caught up on. But moon turned to blood tomorrow, because that is the answer to his question, and he won't understand it. No. But he commented on my most recent video about Oaks giving the double Heil Hitler. Come on, guys, when are you going to learn? The church is evil. And not in a funny, evil way. No, the very bad, causing harm, damage, terrorism, sedition, evil, anti-government way. And I have notes that I took going to bed last night. I don't know if I'll get into them in this video, or whether I'll need to make it into a separate video. But he responded, or he commented, saying, "So how does this have to do with the return to Missouri?" And so I replied, "Oh, you did see my most recent video. You do remember I asked if you, or you do remember about me talking about the moon turning to blood, right?" So again, leaving it vague for him, because there's just too much information for him to get caught up on. So let me go over it for you, summarize it. The ancient Egyptians have the story of Horus being murdered by Set, and Isis, his wife, giving birth to Horus, who comes back to restore the throne of his father Osiris from Set. And they do battle, and Horus wins, and millennial reign of peace and happiness. And in case you're familiar with the Lion King, yeah, that's it. They just use lions instead of humans, who are deities, anthropomorphized, as it's called. And so the two eyes of Horus are called the Wadjet eye, and the two of them together, the right eye represents the sun at noonday. The left eye represents the moon that will be turning to blood. So yes, at the beginning of the battle, Set plucks out the right eye. Sun darkening, and then yes, the moon also, his left eye gets plucked out as well. And so if you've seen Gods of Egypt, the movie, it's got a lot of liberties taken, but you get the general gist, even though I wouldn't quote it for your Egyptian knowledge. That's one of the problems with Hollywood, is that people believe that they're accurate. Oh, Disney says that there are little mermaids. They're real. Yeah, outer space aliens are all lizards. They put on a human skin and they eat rats and rodents. And they're visitors for V. I'm familiar of the origin of that. That would really help people to understand that some of these nut jobs that are out there spreading misinformation and disinformation, lies, are getting it from other entertainment sources. And that's supposed to be your tip that, oh, these guys are full of it. They're just trying to entertain us. And they're having a great old time with those who actually think they're real. Like tabloid journalism. It's not real. It was not a 300-pound baby that the mother gave birth to. It was not a lizard alien that the mother gave birth to. You know, what are some other ones? President Blowjob meets with a space alien. Or the Ark of the Covenant has been found. The lost document of Jesus found. None of that is real. They purposely talk about it to get you to buy the little newspaper thing. And you guys are dumb enough to fall for it. Just like you fell for what's now digital image clips whether pictures or GIFs or video clips. They've just transformed it from the magazine onto that. And so if you can't identify and distinguish the difference... So anyway, where was I? Where was I? I follow the sun. I see psychos, Dems, democracy, doctrine, false. So hold on, give me a second. Rebooting. And so I remember the and yeah, that's it. I found it. Rewind the tape. Tape? What's tape? And so the two eyes of Horus are the Egyptian word PTR. No vowels. Egyptologists put in vowels so that they can speak it. And if you've watched Stargate with Daniel Jackson as he's talking with Shiori, sure, her name changes in the TV series. Why did you change her name? Say her name. He figures out the dialect, that it's just a matter of switching the vowels around. Netiruiru, for example. And so it's not real. It was the writers of the story who made that distinction. Just because Daniel Jackson found out the different dialect does not mean that that's the original and that's how it's supposed to be spoken. And so Peter is the common pronunciation of the eyes of Horus, which is also the same for regular eyes, because the eyes of Horus are hawk eyes. Hawkeye, BJ and Hawkeye, Pierce. If you remember MASH. And it can also be Falcon. But again, you need to understand, we're talking tens of thousands of years ago when this was first developed. If you understand anything about breeding animals, the Babylonians are considered to be the first ones to learn how to breed, in the sense of they were able to pull out the pure white sheep and breed them to produce pure white sheep, whereas the spotted sheep or black sheep, they contaminate, make unclean and impure the white sheep. That's Babylon. But before this, it was still understood that you can produce different species of family groups. There's still no connection, a missing link to chimps and humans. If you cannot perform a test, if you don't even try to perform a test, you just throw it out there. Yeah, humans came from chimps, and then they came from lizards, and then they came from fish, and then amoebas, and then... You can't do that. You have to have a theory and the test, and you have to actually go through with the test. And it can't be done. Nobody can do it. Nobody can find any evidence to plug into the equation to confirm or deny. So we have no choice but to deny the theory of evolution. And they won't do it, because the alternative is unacceptable too. And it is. It should be thrown away. Creationism. Dear God, get rid of that. What the hell are you guys thinking? Constantine. The mess he caused. And so scriptures talking about the sun shall be darkened, moon turned to blood, stars falling from heaven, it's all part of apocalyptic literature. You see, because nation after nation, generation after generation, all referred back to that original story from Egypt, the Lion King, when they're under attack by an evil dictator or an enemy nation. They refer to those stories to give them hope, to give them inspiration to rise up and overthrow their oppressors. So yes, during the Roman period, the Romans were being mean, kind of causing murders and destruction and chaos, because the Jews wanted to restore control. And the temple got destroyed, and so rebellions rose up as you have Christs. What? No! Only Jesus! Constantine said so! Not understand the art of war using psychology. And so yes, even during that time, you have apocalyptic literature being written in the language of the Romans and other languages that were available and known at the time, trying to give hope and inspiration for a Christ to rise up and save the Jews from the evil Roman Empire that was murdering them. And so, yes, Constantine still had the problems of the Jews, which were pretty much eradicated by that time. That the Jewish group was gone. So you've got other groups of therapeutae that were still in existence. The Alexandrian one from Egypt, that became the largest group of the therapeutae, which Constantine's debacle had caused the resulting Christians to go back and call them Christian. But Christian in its original meaning is just somebody who believes in apocalyptic literature and a Christ to save them from their oppressors. I've gone over that with you. And like I said, I'm also preparing for the interview tomorrow. But apocalyptic literature contains a messianic hero. There's some kind of a destruction revealed by angels or messengers, and there's supernatural acts, and women in marriage. You gotta have women in marriage. Sex and violence. It's been around forever. And so when Joseph Smith then comes out and gives a modern take on apocalyptic literature. Ta-da! Oh, Nephi, you're a character from the Book of Mormon. I recognize you. Yeah, Nephi, not Moroni. Nephi. There's a reason why Nephi and not Moroni. He comes to Nephi, where his brothers are sleeping, his sisters are in the next room. He's in the bed with Hiram, and apparently Nephi appears at the other side of the bed that's up against the wall. Painters sort of got that one wrong. But again, you know, are you going to trust your doctrinal information to artisans? Did you know that the reason why we think it's an apple is because of a painter? Women caused the fall of man because of an apple. And the one-eyed snake, according to, what's her name? did a movie with what's-his-name, and Grandma warned her about the one-eyed snake. And then she said, "Oh, don't worry, I've already tamed the one-eyed snake a long time ago." But that's where it all goes awry, is because people assume certain things from the text. When Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon, which is where Joseph got it from. Wait a minute, Travis. Joseph Smith translated the Book of Mormon by the gift and power of God, a rock and a hat, which previously was him looking at the plates and getting inspiration. You're not listening to my channel. I did all that work and research, and you just don't listen and don't believe. No. Joseph Smith was going to be used as the Christ to present the message. But Joseph Smith didn't have anything to do with the composition of the Book of Mormon. Nope, that was Daddy and Sidney Rigdon who were involved with that. And because Martin Harris insisted on being a part of it, he couldn't just fork over the money so they can publish the book. And Joseph Smith had to distract him at Harmony, north of Pittsburgh, in between Sidney Rigdon and the farm. And Junior blew it. You know, he allowed the death of his firstborn to distract him as Martin Harris, then stole the 116 pages, brought them back to Palmyra to his anti-Mason committee, because he was concerned about the amount of Knights Templar, Jewish mysticism, well, maybe not Jewish mysticism, at least Knights Templar, Freemasonry stuff in it. And if you're not going to understand because you're not going to listen to my channel and my videos, and so Father is mad, as we can read in section 3 of the Doctrine and Covenants. Why didn't you just come to me? There's this on the floor. Ow, a thorn from outside. The bushes way down where my only friends are, the dogs, that are being held prisoner by their masters because they don't like it when I go running by. And so in section 10 you then see that Senior has finally figured out how to fix this, as we already know that he's already working with Sidney Rigdon, as he gave Sidney Rigdon the original manuscripts and he was supposed to continue on from there. And Joseph Jr. lost them, and so a new template was needed for the Book of Mormon. Sidney Rigdon happened to have a manuscript that never got published because the guy died in Pittsburgh at the print press, the Solomon Spaulding manuscript. Manuscript found. And so he thought, well, nobody would know about this manuscript. Let's use it. It's got Nephites and Lamanites, Lehiites. Perfect. We'll redesign it just in case somebody might be familiar with the story, so that we're not exactly plagiarizing, but we'll use that as the template. And I'll put in my Jewish mysticism with Knights Templar understanding at the beginning to replace the 116 pages. And Junior, get the hell out of here. You've screwed it up enough. And so you're going to need to get with your new daddy. I disown you. and have him sell you a home in what used to be Harmony, Susquehanna County, Pennsylvania. Isn't that convenient that it used to be called Harmony? And so why is Joseph buying a home when he has already lost Martin Harris, the money man, for the publication of the Book of Mormon, and he needs money to get it published, and he wasn't making any money from Josiah Stoll's silver mine, as he was arrested by Josiah Stoll's nephew for not finding any silver, thus was arrested as a glass looker, $2.68. And so, yes, Old Harmony just happens to be over by the jail and the courthouse where Joseph Smith was arrested. So, yeah, we'll claim that you went over there, but then they won't go to the Whitmer's home. And Oliver Cowdery, instead of being the person to deliver the documents to Joseph in Harmony north of Pittsburgh, now becomes the babysitter of Joseph with the Whitmers. And he doesn't mind, because there's that sweet doe-eyed Whitmer girl that he eventually marries. and so, yeah, the Whitmers become Ishmael and his wives. In the rewritten version. And so, that's also helps you understand why Oliver Cowdery left, is because he was in on all of this from the beginning, and he never denounced his testimony of the Book of Mormon, but claimed in anger that Joseph Smith must have been having sex with his 15-year-old housemaid. He didn't catch him in the act. He's just angry because Joseph was buddying up with Sidney Rigdon rather than him, listening to Sidney rather than him. He had his own ideas on how the church should be run. And so he was mad and threw out a sexual accusation, because that's what you did back then. You know, when you get caught with a woman who's not your wife, by your wife, well, you have to tell your wife, she's a witch. She entranced me and I gave in. She's a witch. Burn her. That's actually how it was done. And if the wife refused to accept that as an excuse, well, she's now a witch too. And so you have two witches that go to trial for witchcraft simply because, you know, you weren't getting none from your wife and you went to another woman to get it from. And if you're unfamiliar with the grandfather of Joseph Smith Jr., he was brought in to testify at such a situation of his brother-in-law. And so, yay. And that's where I know all about my witchcraft from, is from Joseph Smith history. The Salem witch trials. As much as, yeah, the Red Witch. What's her name? She's Russian. Home was destroyed as a kid, and so she reverts into TV world. WandaVision. There it is. Yeah. So none of that stuff is real. It all comes down to sexual infidelity and blaming the victim. Yep. And so, yeah, Oliver Cowdery can't disclose the real facts of what happened and why they happened, the source of the Book of Mormon, because of the information that is supposed to remain coded. And so don't get all excited because he didn't denounce the Book of Mormon even though he left the church. There were other factors involved that you are not being privy to because of the prophets. And so, yeah, Nephi is telling Joseph Smith about the end of the world, presents him with a book, Egyptian gold plates, which, yes, is directly tied to the Knights Templar of the York Rides, Freemasonry. That's supposed to be the code, because the Knights Templar also, which Hollywood, you know, Dan Brown's Da Vinci Code, you know, he can't completely separate himself from the Catholic Church. He still has to give obeisance to the Catholic Church, but yet he still wants to throw in corrected information. And so instead of saying he's just that Sophie Neveu is a descendant of King David, instead says she's a descendant of Jesus, making Jesus still real, but physically real, not Trinity real, which Trinity is not real by definition, thanks to Constantine. So yeah, that's why Christians don't like Dan Brown and refuse to accept his abuse of the Catholic Church and Christianity. Yeah, well, he still got it wrong. It's King David, not Jesus. It did not exist. He was just one of many composed into a single character in apocalyptic literature that we now call the Gospels. And there are many more Gospels that were not put in. And so, yeah, Joseph Smith's history is apocalyptic literature. It's not real history. Oh, ex-Mormons now had the light bulb. They figured it out. Yeah, if you're still listening to this video. That's why the history does not match with the history. But instead, you try to claim, oh, it's a fraud, Joseph Smith is evil, he's a bad guy, he's trying to lie to us. He's a witch. Burn him! The rats of unusual sizes. Princess Bride. And so, yeah. So that's why I'm so obsessed, in the sense that I set aside everything else to focus on this, because having done church history, I know the threat is real. The Book of Mormon tells us in great detail. That's part of this, and I've referred to it to you. The Book of Mormon goes into extreme, explicit, graphic detail on how to identify the bad church for the latter days. I'll give you a couple of samples. Founded by Lucifer. Oh, well, what's his sign? Oh, Isaiah is in the Book of Mormon. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? Well, let's see. Lucifer was put in the Vulgate translation in 400 CE. So it wouldn't have been known to the Nephites had they been literal historical characters. So that's a oopsie anachronism. But nonetheless, a falling star is symbolized as an inverted pentagram. So Helaman chapter 6, they have their secret signs. What secret signs? Well, they've been founded by the devil. The secret sign of the devil is the inverted pentagram. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer? And so you're looking for a church that has as the keystone of their temples Helaman chapter 6, they have secret covenants with loyalty oaths and death penalties for whistleblowing. Anybody getting light bulbs invented? Mormons, are you uncomfortable? Are you finally going to leave the church? Like the rest of us? The 13 million of us who've said, enough, we're out. In case you didn't know, the church is still claiming we're Mormon and still members. And if you consider Mormonism as a culture, then yes, I will always be Mormon. But as a member, no, I don't go to church. You know, Christianity, they don't have membership records. They only count those who attend. And so the pastor has to entertain, not just bore them by reading scripture, in order to keep the flock. Only in tragedy do people tend to flock to the churches. Again, that apocalyptic literature thing. Because the scriptures are apocalyptic literature. And so during times of tragedy, religious people refer back to their scriptures. Ta-da! And so just nobody is writing new ones. And when somebody does, they're considered blasphemous and evil. We have apocalyptic literature, and we need no more apocalyptic literature. A Bible, a Bible. And so yeah, Christianity does not accept Joseph Smith's apocalyptic literature. The Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Joseph Smith history. And I would need to do more research, but potentially even the Book of Abraham, because there's some things that still need to be checked. But I've done other checking about how he understood Egyptian culture from chapter 1, which no Egyptologist will acknowledge. No, Joseph Smith is wrong. He did not translate the facsimiles correctly. He's a fallen prophet, not a translator, and so I would recommend that the prophets continue to not declare themselves as translators. You notice that? Prophets are revelator, translator. Where's translator? Nelson, you're not a translator? What? It's not a gift of God. Prophet, seer, well, it is, yeah, sorry. Moses is the office that he's supposed to have. You know, that Christ of the Jews, which he refused to acknowledge Passover during a coronavirus pandemic. Isn't that interesting? A medical doctor refusing to acknowledge the Exodus apocalyptic literature of Moses, the Christ of the Jews, of which office he holds during a coronavirus pandemic, which is also talked about in the Exodus story. Metallica calls it creeping death. Awesome video on YouTube using Exodus, Gods and Kings. The Christian Bale, I think is his name, version, rather than the Ten Commandments, which, you know, it's classic. I think, doesn't he wear a watch? Or is that another movie, Ben-Hur or something? You pulled an anachronism! Or was Ben-Hur the one where there was a truck in the background? Or was that Lord of the Rings? Fun times. So, yeah, that's what we have going on now. And the fact that there are lunar eclipses with deaths of prophets has me going, because we're losing the battle, guys. in case you didn't know, we have Mormons purposely going back to the city of Zarahemla with the title of liberty to destroy Pehoran, to put the kingmen back in power. What? What? Captain Moroni? Was he the one that visited Nephi or Joseph Smith? No. And then you missed the Exodus this year. Dear God, I begged and pleaded with you. I gave you so much information, and you would not repent. Not the second physical suffering repent. Dan Brown. You know, even National Treasure, the beginning of it, about the Knights Templar, he could not give us the accurate historical accounting of the Knights Templar. Again, Hollywood liberties. But there is something to that, as it's not in DC or New York or wherever the underground vault is, where Riley hugs Osiris. No, it's in Southern Illinois. Everybody knows this. That's why it's called Little Egypt. Why Joseph Smith in July 1840 told us that's where we're supposed to build. Mormons are supposed to build Zion and New Jerusalem. And oops, we missed the Exodus. And so now we've got winter time, and we've got women who are pregnant, and there's Sabbath day potential. We have a Sabbath day violation. If you've seen Schwarzenegger's 6-day violation. And it's called 6th day because on the 6th day in the Genesis, that's when man was created and they were ordered to have sex. But I don't like him. I prefer the snake. Fine, we'll make another woman for Adam, and she will be docile and submissive and compliant. She won't speak in church, will she, Paul? Or redactor Paul, technically. And she'll be blonde rather than dark hair, because blondes have more fun. Oh my God, how did we get so screwed up? It was the psychos. The psychos. Enemies of the state. Because there's a Sinclair immortalized video now that every news station reported on it. Oh my God, we're so toast. Burnt toast. Completely black and burnt to ash toast. It was hilarious. I was going to put this in this video, but this turned out to be a different video than this. So, yeah, and that's also a YouTube video. Oh, man. So, yeah, like I said, science is observing patterns and then trying to explain anomalies by developing a theory to have it tested for confirmation, like the light bulb. And so that's what we're doing. We're on 19 November 2021, Blood Red Moon Eve Day. So all I'm hearing are Mormon crickets from you guys.